Hello, I'm Casey Aiken. This is 21 This Week. Coming up next, 6 Democratic candidates for county executive gave their vision of the county. Why was the lone Republican excluded from the debate? Who decided that Robin Ficker didn't have anything important to say? The reverberations of the Me Too campaign shocks Washington as allegations rock both parties. Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the past president of the Montgomery County branch of the NAACP, Henry Hailstock, former Maryland Assistant Secretary for Business, Bill Askinazi, president of the Montgomery County Young Republicans, Dan McHugh, and political strategist, Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. While 6 Democratic candidates for county executive were delivering their vision for Montgomery County in a debate sponsored by Bethesda Magazine and the Bethesda Chamber of Commerce, the Montgomery County Council continued on its regulatory path by passing the $15 an hour minimum wage bill, introducing legislation to require even small housing developers to include moderately priced housing units in 15% of their constructions, but only targeted for wealthy neighborhoods, which doesn't seem to make much sense at all. And finally, the council celebrated the creation of bike paths in Silver Spring and Bethesda. Woohoo! Henry, before we discuss the 6 candidates running for the executive office, what do you think about the passage of the $15 an hour minimum wage and the proposal by Hans Reimer to the MPDU program? That's a mouth, MPDU program.
Well, I don't like acronyms anyway. First of all, what they're passing now, I agree with, because it's over a period of time. The earlier discussion, I didn't really go along with, because as some of my colleagues were talking about it before we went on air, it would hurt small businesses primarily. But I think over a period of time, as we do it in increments, it will help and give opportunity for a number of small businesses as well as medium-sized businesses to work and recoup on that. But I'll put the caveat in that. I hope that in doing their business, they will also learn how to grow and stabilize their small businesses as well. When I work for Giant Food and I work with bringing in minority businesses, I try to counsel them on several things. And I realized that this county needed incubators to assist small businesses for their growth purposes. As far as the housing is concerned, I know you were wondering why it's in more affluent neighborhoods. Primarily it's because we do have minorities and people low income in those communities. It may not be a large number, but they struggle to find affordable housing. And you don't want a student who is struggling trying to find out where they live to live and everything, because we've had a couple of students that were homeless in each of the schools that they were mentioning because of that, finding affordable housing. And you're not talking about a whole lot. I mean, if you look at what
you are talking about a lot.
No, you're not.
By including these small developers into the MPDU program, and heretofore they've been exempt. Mm-hmm. You're really increasing the incremental costs of all of the housing stock in those neighborhoods.
Oh, if you take
and if you look at the neighborhoods that they're talking about, these are all infill lots. These aren't going to be big developments.
Let me just give you an example.
We got to run on to.
You're saying 20 units, and you're saying 15%. Yeah. If you look at that. 20 units, you're only talking about 3 units out of that whole part, just for 20 units to be low income or affordable.
It's 15% of 20.
Bill,
it's not that big.
Let's talk about the two proposals. One, the reconfigured $15 an hour minimum wage, and then MPDUs.
Here we go again. This is classic Montgomery County liberal politics in an election year. These are feel-good solutions, but it's a disconnect with economic reality. I was Assistant Secretary for Business for the state of Maryland, and when you require a small business to pay an artificial wage of $15 an hour, they're going to either fire employees or move across the river. This isn't a national policy. This is geographically centered. The better thing to do is invest in education, train our workers, and organically grow a workforce. Second, you're right. What does a private developer do? Again, if you're forced artificially as a private developer to incur more costs for the sake of a label of making more affordable housing, which is really a misnomer, they're not going to build there, and they're going to move. So you're defeating the very policies that you want to implement by having artificial government injection.
Look, in the neighborhood that I live in, I've been there for over 25 years. They put affordable units in that development, okay? You wouldn't even know it. And the only reason I knew it because a couple of my sons were friends with some of the students that were there. The problem is it's not artificial, it's needed because we have in our county a problem with unemployment, low employment, and
All right, Henry, we have 1
employment.
minute left in this segment, but here's the solution if we want more housing. And you know what the solution is?
What?
Open up the ag reserve to density and high density development as opposed to keeping it as farmettes and 5-acre and 20-acre parcels. So only the rich can afford those parcels. If you want to see housing, open up the housing stock. Susan, you got anything to add on this before we close?
No, but I would like to talk about the debate for a sec. It was a primary only. After the primary in June.
There's a primary for the Republicans also.
There isn't one. If there is a primary in the Republican Party, there will be another debate.
You know what, Susan? These two organizations, Bethesda Magazine and Bethesda Chamber of Commerce, should be open to all. It's not like the Democratic Club of Montgomery County.
It was a primary debate, and the thing
should
is,
be open to all.
do you know what the irony is, though? At the committee from Montgomery, they invited all gubernatorial candidates, including Larry Hogan, and he's not showing up. So there.
All right, Dan, according to press reports, there's a great deal of diverse opinions between the 6 Democrats running for county executive. What would your candidate, the lone Republican in the race, have added to the mix?
The lone candidate for Republican, Robin Ficker, will get rid of the rain tax in Montgomery County, will lower the energy tax that they promised to sunset after they raised it in 2010, will lower the property tax increase from the 8.7%. He's the only candidate running for county executive that fought these things actively and continues to fight these things. The rest of them are a bunch of tax increase specialists who have overtaxed and overregulated our county, leading to higher taxes, lower educational standards in schools, and massive public safety concerns.
So Susan, don't you think that's all worthwhile and should have been heard?
As I said, it was a primary debate for Democrats. If there is a Republican opponent to Robin Ficker, there will be another one, and when there is one next
Gian Italiano ignored the
Will
phone
you
calls
let
of
me
reporters
finish, please?
from Montgomery Community Media and the Sentinel, and they would not let she would avoided the phone calls and would not let Mr. Ficker in the debate.
No, but the thing is that it would have then been Democrats dumping on him. So the Democrats had their chance. If there is a Republican primary, they'll have their
Robin
chance.
debated them at the Montgomery Muslim Community Council, and he kicked all their butts. That's why they won't let him in.
Well, I don't know if that's. I don't know.
Yes, he
I don't
did.
know. I don't know if the physical
No,
kicking.
he kicked
Dan, I don't know if the physical kicking of their butts was really necessary, but certainly a diversity of opinion would have been appreciated. What do you think, Henry?
Don't ask me because see, I didn't appreciate what Robin Ficker said at one of our open candidate forums that I had at People's Church. You know, he indicated it was primarily African Americans there, okay? And he said, well, I'm African American. He said, I'm Africa and I'm American. Did not appreciate it at all.
Well,
okay?
I don't know. I don't know the context, and
I know the context,
there.
and obviously the context is that he was trying to come in as being a part of us.
Listen, if you have an open forum, it's open for everyone.
Yes.
And people will make their choices. You can't silence and censor someone's opinion that we don't agree with. That's the whole beauty of democracy. Once we select and choose who we're going to listen to in a forum, by virtue of their party label, that's exclusionary, and that's wrong, and you know it.
No,
We
I
have
don't. I
one-party
think
rule
this,
in this county, and they silence the other side. And if we don't end one-party rule in Montgomery County in
there are
2018,
debates all the time once the primaries are over. Last year, Mr. Leggett debated Mr. Shalik over and over
debated him
and
twice.
over. No, there was
Twice.
more than
No,
twice, I believe.
Twice in the general.
Well, I think I'm going to reflect the opinion that I said before. I think these organizations are open to the general public. Bethesda Magazine is a general circulation magazine. The Bethesda Chamber of Commerce claims to represent all of businesses in Bethesda and Chevy Chase. And if they're going to have a debate, they should include all the candidates. I think it's just wrong that they excluded Robin Ficker because they may or may not have liked his views.
Well, our organization made sure that we had candidates for him.
But it's a
It was
different
candidates.
It's a different it's a different deal.
Yeah. Well, we said candidates, which meant everyone.
They
When
let
we
David-
come back from this short break, are all men sexual predators or just jackasses? And welcome back. Former Alabama Supreme Court Judge Roy Moore has been a polarizing figure for his strong conservative views on religion, homosexuality, and other progressive issues. He won a primary election against interim U.S. Senator Luther Strange, who had the backing of the mainstream Republican Party and President Trump. And even so, Moore was considered the leading candidate to win the special election until last week, when a Washington Post expose alleged that Moore had an inappropriate sexual dalliance with a 14-year-old girl some 38 years ago. After those allegations became public, more women have emerged with their additional stories and allegations, and now Moore finds himself behind in the polls for the first time. Dan, the entire Republican establishment has come out in opposition to Judge Moore. What are your thoughts? Shouldn't Moore do the honorable thing and leave the race?
Did Bill Clinton do the honorable thing? Did Marion Barry do the honorable thing? Did Ted Kennedy do the honorable thing? The answer to all those questions is no. So I think Roy Moore should stay in the race and run his race, and we'll see what happens with the voters. Will make the decision in December.
Susan, once the floodgates gets opened up, it's very hard to control the flow of water. Some say that the allegations against Judge Moore should be compared to and held in the same light as those allegations brought against President Bill Clinton.
First of all, Bill Clinton was impeached, as I recall, and it was an issue dealing with an adult person who did not file any charges. We have 30 women here.
Susan.
But she was an adult. She was 20.
Juanita Brown.
Let me finish. So now we go into this issue. There are now 30 women, and most of them were teenagers, so he is viewed as a pedophile. Bill Clinton finally admitted it, and this man is a monster. And he brings up the points, well, they should have said something earlier. As a person who was abused as a child, you don't bring it up. And
Well, wait a minute.
and so
Susan.
the thing is that he deserves what he's getting. He has admitted no guilt. He is blaming everybody but himself.
I don't know Judge Moore, and I don't have any truck in this election whatsoever.
But they're minors.
But here's the question, Susan. Minors can get married. 16-year-olds can get legally married.
Not 14-year-olds.
We're talking 14-year-olds.
We had one 14-year-old.
No, he was
Susan.
banned from the mall on occasion. He called one girl at school because he has a reputation. People who worked with him in the district attorney's office said they talked all the time about his predilection
Bill.
for young girls.
Casey, if we're forgetting something, we live by the rule of law. Innuendo, we don't smear people with innuendo. If it comes out that the man committed a crime, he will have a defense in a court of law. He'll be tried. There'll be a jury
These are all too late now to charge.
Susan, there'll be a jury by his peers, and if he's convicted, he will face punishment. That's what we do in this country. We don't listen to.
You heard of statute of limitations?
We don't. First of all, there is no statute of limitations on certain crimes, including murder and certain types of rape. There are none. And then again, that's why we impeach people with credibility. There could be motives. Rule of law. We all live by it. We all abide by it. This is a democracy.
Henry.
We don't condemn people.
First of all, I don't care who commits the act is wrong. whether it's Democrat, Republican, or Independent. I don't care, or whether it's somebody on the street. It's totally wrong. So don't get me started about how you treat women, because I think we have a society in some respects that don't respect women as they should. Okay, first of all. Second of all, it has been said that the alleged incidents that occurred with Judge Moore past the time frame for prosecution, except possibility of one that has come forward, but they haven't really confirmed everything with that person. But I don't care who it is. I don't care what their role is in society. If they did it, it's wrong, and they should be punished to the fullest extent.
All
If
right,
it's
so
past time,
I want to pivot to something else then.
Okay.
This is a perfect segue to you. Because what does it say about our Congress that over the past 10 years, $15 to $17 million has been paid out by the House Administration Committee to resolve primarily sexual harassment claims?
well, I'm glad you used the term primarily, because it's a little more than that.
I understand that.
Discrimination, both men and women. The biggest problem that I have with that is that I've known all along that we've had murderers, thieves, all sorts of crime or criminals in Congress,
Ted Kennedy.
and it's been proven, okay, and it's documented, but people don't really realize that per se. So it doesn't surprise me that these individuals.
Is it deplorable?
Yeah, it's deplorable.
That's
But
that's
doesn't
what I want to hear.
But it does not surprise me that society sometimes forgets it or ignores it.
I want to go to Bill. Bill, Senator McConnell has promised that Judge Moore, if elected to the Senate, will be the subject of the Senate ethics investigation. But yesterday it was revealed that Minnesota Senator Al Franken was accused of sexual misconduct with a woman 10 years ago. So what should happen to him?
It proves my point. Exactly. We have rules of law. The Senate chambers has ethics committees and investigation. What should happen to Senator Al Franken? He should be investigated. And he should be censored, and he should be thrown out of the Senate if he's convicted. There's no role for sexual predators in our elected body. Now, having said that, there is a danger here of making this a game almost of smearing your opponent, and we got to be very careful on both sides of the aisle.
I'd
both
like-
sides of the aisle.
Can I
The
respond
narrative
to that,
in the-
please?
The
Don't
narrative
take
in the
down-
90s was I don't care what Bill Clinton did with women. My AOL stock keeps going up, and I don't care what he's done.
I'd like to respond to the Al Franken story. Many people know that Al is a friend of mine, and I was very disappointed yesterday in what happened. But he has admitted to it, unlike
Yes.
the inhabitant of the White House or the senator from
Let's stick to the point. Let's stick to the
No,
point.
let me get to this. He admitted
Because
it.
there's a photograph
Let
of
me
him.
Yes, he
That's
admitted
why he
it.
admitted
He
it.
said it was stupid. But do you know what he did? He said, ethics committee, take me on. And you know what he also did? He wrote a letter to that woman who she read, which she read today, and she said, I didn't file charges.
Does that justify it?
No. But Democrats are saying, yes, we should do something, ethics committee, and he's gotten shunned today. But we don't see that on the other side.
For 20 years, the Democrats doubled down on Bill Clinton's accusations of rape, his love child, his adultery, committing perjury under oath. They doubled down, and he's a hero to the party to this day.
But I'm not saying that Al Franken should be given a break. He shouldn't. And he's going to the ethics committee, but he admitted it.
Danny Williams Clinton.
And I do believe that when you look at the other side, there is no remorse. And you can keep talking about President Clinton all you time. Right now, we have someone in the White House who has something like 20 women who have accused him of stuff. And this week, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said from the press, in her press briefing, they're all liars. So as long as there is a belief that women lie.
That's the same message that came out of the Clinton White House. When we come back, parting shots. And now with parting shots, after a lively debate we've had this evening, Susan Heltemes.
First of all, I'd like to wish all the viewers a very happy Thanksgiving. And secondly, on Tuesday night, I was proud to be a part of a salute to Delegate Sheila Hickson, who announced that she is not going to be running for re-election. She is the chair emeritus of the House Ways and Means Committee, one of the most powerful women in the state of Maryland. It was a lovely event, and it was an event with love. And you know, when people leave office, often it feels like, oh, we gotta do this, it's pro forma. But in this case, there was love. Sheila Hickson, you shall truly be missed, and we wish you luck after this last legislative year in Annapolis.
Thank you, Susan. Henry Hailstock, your parting shot.
All right, thank you. This is the holiday season now. Mine started after Halloween because I ate all the candy. But I want us not to forget those that are in need. Please give where you can, when you can, because we have people out there, including kids, primarily kids, who need to eat, and make sure that they're warm during this winter time. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Bill Askinazi, your parting shot.
You have to admire people who are courageous. And I wouldn't, 5 years ago, thought I would be saying this, but I bought the book by Donna Brazil called Hack. And she comes out and she said it like it was, that the DNC rigged the election against Bernie Sanders. This wasn't written by a Republican. This was written by an insider in the Democratic Party. And she exposed the many lies that I can't believe that she did, but she told it like it was. And my hat's off to Donna Brazil, former Democratic National Chairwoman, for telling the truth.
Thank you, Bill. Dan McHugh, your parting shot.
This Thanksgiving season, I am thankful that we are 1 year away from ending one-party rule in Montgomery County.
Well, thank you, everybody. I want to put this final thing in context. All these sexual allegations which are coming out are really a terrible thing. But the women who feel that they have been harassed and they have been sexually abused, they have a right to their opinion. They have a right to come out. And what I think is so interesting now is that the playing field is getting leveled. Because for a long time, it seemed like this was the Democratic playbook. 2 weeks before an election, we'd have an allegation come out. So whether it's harmful to people if these allegations are false, but if the allegations are true, people need to stand up and look in their hearts and do the right thing. You know, nobody deserves to be an elected official. They have to look in their hearts and know whether or not they are worthy of our trust and our vote. And so I hope there's something good and refreshing and cleansing that comes out of all this. I want to thank the panel for being here this evening. Like Susan, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.